All right, welcome to Dom and Connor Talk About Stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we had this idea recently to do like a sort of podcast thing where we just pick a topic on something in health and fitness and just go off and kind of see our thoughts on it. And if anyone while you're watching this want to drop a comment or add to it at any point, feel free so we can kind of just keep the input rolling. But today we're just going to give you a breakdown on what got us here in terms of, our fitness journeys personally and our current goals and what we're hoping to be able to do in the future, and kind of tie that into, why we get so much enjoyment out of what we do for work and how we can give back to our clients with our experience.
Hell yeah. So, in terms of starting off with fitness journeys and things like that, I'll say, Connor, you can start.
Oh, okay. All right. So I started, I started my fitness journey probably around 2013 or so. I'd always been a really active kid. I never really did sports because I just didn't get the hang of it. But I really enjoyed just like climbing trees in the backyard and riding in the woods on my bike and stuff like that. And so when 2013 rolled around, two of my coworkers and I that were also like my best friends, we were working at a small music store just down the street from us called Music Workshop. And the three of us decided one day that we were going to get a gym membership to Workout World. So we walked in there, we got the $10 monthly gym membership, and just started throwing weights around. Just kind of playing the field, seeing what we could do, having fun with it. No real plan. We just kind of saw what other people did and tried to emulate that. And after a couple of years, I went out to college, and then I was starting to actually feel the results of what we were doing in the gym, because even though we were kind of just throwing weights around, I really wanted to put more thought into what we were doing. I had always grew up a super skinny kid, and I got picked on a little bit, so I wanted to see what I could do to change my lifestyle and things like that. And so once I started actually putting on some muscle, I went to college. My roommate was a bodybuilder. I was in Air Force ROTC. We had the gym 5 minutes away, and every dining hall around the corner. So I was able to just really dive into weightlifting, and I saw a huge improvement in, not only my abilities, my physique, but also just like my confidence in myself. It made a big difference. A lot of people, a lot of my friends saw it too. And once I really actually found my way with it and then developed plans, I realized that this was something that I was meant to do. And it just brought me all the way after college to working out at various gyms, and eventually I decided to become a personal trainer. I had built up a lot of experience and practice, and I wanted to see what I could give back. I've been doing this for 6 years now, and I've worked at many different gyms throughout northern Mass and southern New Hampshire. I've loved every single one that I've been at, and ultimately it's led here, which is certainly one of the best work environments I've ever had, one of the best opportunities I could get. And I've also just gone through a lot of different phases of my own fitness. Everything from weightlifting. I started doing calisthenics, where I could learn how to do like muscle ups, human flag, and just all sorts of crazy stuff that you don't really need to do, but it's super fun to do. And then I got really into obstacle course racing, and then like the Spartan races and whatnot. And then my most recent passion became mountain biking. I started mountain biking maybe about 4 years ago, and I started getting competitive about 2 years ago. And it's a blast. I would recommend trying, to ride a simple trail for almost anyone, because it just feels so different than riding on a rail trail. And you're really out there in nature. You got your heart rate up. You're getting good exercise. It's exciting. Just be careful. I've definitely seen the ER a few times, but I still always manage to get back on the saddle and keep riding because I know it's what I love to do. And then that's kind of how it all started and how it's kind of going now. I guess I kind of led one thing into another, but yeah, basically I'd say my start came from having some like body image issues and just wanting to get better at the things I wanted to do for my life. Like I was initially doing the ROTC thing, and the easiest way for me to get better at that was to work out. And the more you practice at it, the less it sucks. And those two things just kind of coincided with each other for a long time, and my overall goal the whole time is just to have fun with it.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
So now I have two questions kind of following up your story. So
Yeah.
first question, this one might be a tough one. Out of all the gyms that you have gone to, do you have a favorite?
That I've worked out at?
Yeah.
I would have to say Fitness Appeal in Lawrence. So shout out to Vic.
That's dope.
That place is super fun. I would definitely recommend it. It's basically like not gym. Vic runs a very tight ship over there. He does run an open gym occasionally, and that's what myself and a couple of my friends at the time would do. And they taught me a lot about obstacle course racing and calisthenics. They taught me how to do muscle ups and whatnot. So it was just like a period of time. I said this was like 2018, where I had really established like a fitness family, and that place was just so much fun. I loved calisthenics for the reason that you can make the world your jungle gym, and that by itself is just a fun thought to me. And that place, there's no better place to train.
Hell yeah. And then I guess the second one, worst biking injury that you've had.
I don't know if that one's appropriate here. I was out in the woods. I was biking at this place in Nashua, and there was a drop that was probably like a 6-foot drop. And I wasn't a master at this skill yet, but the idea is when you go off a drop, you need to shift your weight back a little bit to kind of act as like a natural brake. But I went too far back. And by the time my bike hit the ground, the suspension coil came down, and then the tire came up between my legs and kept rolling. I definitely got stitches for that one.
Ouch.
Yeah, that one wasn't fun. But yeah, I'd probably say that qualifies.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the time that when we had first met that like you came with like a wrist splint to say that you broke your wrist or something like that, like you hurt your wrist instead. Is that what like?
No, that was a boxing injury.
Oh, that was something different.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were trying to cover for that one.
No, there was no covering for that. Walking like a penguin for a week.
That sucks. But at the same time too though, it's like even though like it's like weird to think that like when you put yourself like through that and like you put yourself like through physical pain that you just always want to go back and do it again.
I can't stop.
No, it's like the weirdest.
If
like,
it's the death
sensation.
of me, just know I died happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's wild. Like to think about that. It's like you put your body through all this stuff, like, and just the fact that like you keep gravitating back towards it, whether it's like biking, lifting weights, rugby, whatever the case is, like some people just like, I don't know if it's a combination of the adrenaline or like the pain or what it is, but I definitely think it might be more of like an adrenaline spike than anything else and the pain's just probably worth it.
Yeah,
so,
thank God for adrenaline.
No, absolutely. So I guess I'll start. Unless, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I've talked enough. Go for it.
Cool. So a little different. So with my fitness journey, similarities in the sense that also having like body image issues and things of that nature. Just a little bit on the different end of the spectrum. I was very overweight, very heavy. Had like a lot of just not things to be proud of about like my body and stuff like that. So when I was honestly around like 9 years old, I started off training down at Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning. They initially had a facility in Wilmington that I was going to for years. And then shout out to Sam Dad, my first ever strength coach. And then from there, he ended up transferring to the facility in Woburn, which they're currently at now. I ended up going there for quite some time. And basically the reason that I kind of just got into it is because I was basically told that like if I continued down the lifestyle that I had in regards for like my eating habits and not doing much physical activity and things like that, that I probably would have died at a very early age. So it was kind of like a scare tactic, but it was definitely one that I needed. So from kind of like going from like eating all day and playing video games in the dark in my basement to like actually figuring out what a salad and a weight is, it definitely was a turnaround. Um, I had a buddy later on in life that introduced me to bodybuilding. He was like, "We're just gonna go to the gym and bodybuild and look good for girls." And I'm like, "I have no idea what that is, but it sounds cool. So why the hell not? Let's try it." So from like the time of like 9 to maybe like 14, 15 years old, I was at Mike's for quite some time. Learned a lot about just like the foundations of like lifting in terms of just like technique, form. I didn't learn so much about programming just because I was a little bit too young to understand that at the time. But I just liked the fact that I was able to kind of get myself to a point that they had like lifting groups, and I surpassed my group, the second group, and then the advanced group that I was in. Basically, it's kind of more, it's supposed to go by age, but the reason that I kind of kept jumping is because my weights just kind of kept going up. So as opposed to like having to like strip the bar, reset, and kind of like kind of having like the elephant in the room of the group, I kind of was able to like compete with people that are lifting similar to me or maybe a little bit more, but most of the kids that I was lifting with at that time were probably between like later high school to college age, and like I was still just a minor. So I thought it was really cool just to be able to like kind of build myself up to that caliber of just being like, damn, like I'm actually like I'm good at this if I can keep climbing the ladder as well as what I did. Fast forward from Mike's, again, I ended up leaving there just because things change. Ended up getting to the bodybuilding scene for a bit. Helped me when I started playing football in high school. I wasn't the best football player. I just like the sport. I like the camaraderie. I like the team atmosphere. And my biggest thing is I love the team lifts. Team lifts were awesome. I was putting up crazy numbers in the gym on the field. I really couldn't do much, but you know what? It's all right. I learned a lot through just my experience of like training and applying. So, and kind of like took that to college. Went to college. I ended up studying for exercise science and sports medicine, and kind of made the transition from football to rugby in college. I was a hell of a lot better at that, just because it's a lot easier to understand. Just take the ball and run straight. So not rocket science, so that was pretty solid. And then my size definitely helped me with that as well. But it was really cool to kind of take what I was doing in the weight room, being able to go and apply it to something. On top of that too, kind of going back to another reason why I started. So obviously with like the body weight issues and things like that, mental health too. That was a big savior for me in the sense that like anytime that like I had like a down day or a dark day, the gym was always someplace that I could go that I know would never hurt me. My first gym membership ever, shout out to Mike's Gym in Medford. They are no longer there. Unfortunately, they closed down and now it's a Blink. But it was probably one of the best gyms that I worked out at, not in the sense that from like the equipment and everything that they had, but just like the atmosphere of like when you walked in there, it was nice to like be able to go in and see people that had the same mindset, kind of doing everything they could to just get themselves after it. So it was a really cool experience to just be a part of. Every time that I would go in, I would see people that I would like that I knew, typically older adults, things like that, and they would always come up to me and like compliment like how much I lift, my technique, whatever the case was. So it was just a really cool thing to kind of build myself up. And then so fast forward, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but after college, I ended up taking my board exam through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I'm a certified strength coach now. And then with being in college, my senior year, I had a terrible knee injury, basically took me out of rugby for my whole senior year and pretty much my career up until this point. And so I ended up getting into coaching rugby instead. So it was kind of cool just to be a part of the game still, but also be able to like take the fitness aspect of it and be able to implement it, whether it was training my teammates, training my athletes, whatever the case is. It can just definitely help that performance overall, the same way that Connor probably takes his performance and applies it to either body skilled work or biking. So one thing that I'm definitely indebted for Connor for is that he gives me shit all the time that I have all the size and strength and I don't apply it to anything. Well, ever since he told me that, I've been
Try to be
applying.
nice about it.
I know, but at the same time, now I just fucking apply it to everything, and it's great. So it's definitely like it was a kick in the ass that I needed. So like, thank you, but at the same time, go fuck yourself. So, but no, it's definitely nice to like know that there are people that are in your corner that like kind of want to keep pushing for you to be able to do your best. So it really got me thinking of what I was doing and why I was doing it. And then I finally kind of built up the courage to be able to like actually do a bodybuilding competition. Again, awesome. Kind of starting from the bottom of having these body issues and like getting bullied and made fun of for being overweight to being able to pretty much get on a stage and practically nothing and just like having to display yourself. For me personally, it didn't matter if I won, because the reason that I won was because I went from one total opposite end of the spectrum to being able to essentially just kind of display myself to the best that I could that day.
And that takes an enormous amount of confidence to jump on a stage like
that.
Yeah,
it's definitely, it's weird. It's definitely a learning curve in terms of like trying to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and the best way to get comfortable is literally to be uncomfortable. You kind of have to put yourself in those situations. So by doing that, it was definitely a learning experience. I didn't do obviously the best that I wanted to in terms of like placing and things like that, but for a first time around, I loved the experience. I loved being able to, again, just kind of take what I was doing and be able to showcase it, whether it was like posing or whatever the case is. In terms of kind of like my fitness journey along the way, in addition to sports, I also did competitive powerlifting along the way, baseball, basketball, football, wrestling. So I had a multitude of different sports that I would play. And again, just taking what you do in the facility, you can basically apply it depending as to how you're training and what you're doing. And one thing at the end of the day too is that I've learned kind of throughout my time is that with kind of getting to like my future goals, longevity is such an important thing that people don't really take the time to consider. People want fast results, and they want them quick. They don't want to take the time to actually get from point A to point B if it takes a lengthy period of time. To set up small goals along the way will kind of help you maintain that patience. But the reason that I'm kind of getting into that is kind of like with bodybuilding. So for right now, like I'm about 22 weeks out from my second competition. It seems like a long time, but I try to set smaller goals along the way of like, oh, like if I can eat clean, like most of the week, maybe like one day I'll give myself like, I won't even give myself a cheat day. I'll give myself a cheat meal. And then after I have that meal, it's kind of like right back to being on track. But it's something that's going to help me stay disciplined, but also help me get to that end goal of where I want to be come the 22 weeks. So kind of like in terms of like goals that I have now, I have a lot of body injuries. So just from overuse arthritis, just kind of being in the game for a while. So I would say kind of like going forward, in addition to wanting to compete in bodybuilding, definitely just trying to be the healthiest version of myself in terms of just being able to wake up pain-free, being able to move well, not having to worry about like what's going to hurt me today. So there's a lot of different things that it's not necessarily the most specific goal per se, but it's a broad enough goal that can kind of help me just get to the point of where I want to be. And then I guess to kind of like get into our wrap up, the biggest thing is that the reason that me and Connor are here, it's because of all the people that we've managed to help along the way. So from kind of like starting up the process, Connor even kind of mentioned it himself, walking into a gym is probably one of the most intimidating things that you could do, especially if you don't know what you're doing. So our job is to try to like help alleviate some of that anxiety. So for people that have gone through dealing with anxiety and high string emotions and things like that, it can be a very stressful time. So to kind of like take it from like a 10 to a 2, it could be a lot. But that's kind of like the stepping stone to kind of getting the ball rolling. And then in terms of like more in regards to like what we do, once you kind of get that ball rolling, this is definitely right up Connor's alley. Consistency and maintenance. Connor does a ton of exercise and postural correction work. I can let him get into that a little bit deeper, but basically just kind of like, in a sense, it sets you up for that long term.
Right. Before we like get further into the wrap up, I have two questions for you.
What's up?
All right. So we've jumped around a little bit, but the first question I want to ask is I don't know if you specifically mentioned it here, but you had a pretty devastating knee injury from rugby.
Yeah.
How did that affect your journey?
It definitely made it more humbling in the sense to know that like your body can just about do anything. If you put your mind to something in regards to like something that you want to set up for yourself, you can make it happen. My knee injury, I've had about 8 surgeries to date. My last surgery, I totally flatlined on the table. I had to pretty much reteach myself how to walk again, how to run again. I had to reteach myself simple body mechanics of just being able to like get up off a floor. There were a lot of things that my knee injury did teach me. Being patient was probably number one. There were definitely my days that like I screamed, cried, wanted to pull my hair out, like was aggravated. But at the end of the day, none of that would have changed the outcome as to what happened. What happened, happened. So now it's just a matter of having to live with the repercussions. In terms of how it kind of got to the severity, in short, I got a septic staph infection, kind of went a little haywire. So by the time all the surgeries had concluded, I was left with crepitus, arthritis, degenerative bone disease, a lot of different things that I'm pretty much going to have to live with forever. But the biggest thing is that if you have that drive and ambition to want to do something, you're going to make it happen, and you're just going to have to figure out a way around it. It's kind of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Well, I'm thirsty. I want to drink, so I don't care if I have to walk, run, or hobble my way to water. I'm going to get there somehow. So that's kind of like how I would say the knee injury kind of helped, was definitely just building my patience and just building the confidence to being able to know that like you can really just put your body through anything if you assess your mind to it first.
Yeah, I think that's like a real rebound story. I know I've worked with clients where, there might be one acute thing that happened in their life that was traumatic and devastating, and a lot of the program is built around recovering from that. Other times it can be throughout your life, you're constantly bombarded with a setback, and it seems like it can't get a medical break, and programs might be designed around that. So I think having any sort of experience where you're really kind of laid down to the ground and it's still coming back up definitely shows some character and proves that you can get to where you want to be now. Yeah. I have a second question.
Yeah, what's up?
What is your cheat meal?
Oh, man. I probably pizza. I love a really good pizza. No offense to New Hampshire, but the pizza sucks up here.
It just sucks in New England. You can't. Great.
I've had some decent pizza like in Boston and things like that. I used to religiously follow shout out to Barstool Perez, his pizza reviews all the time, and I used to go and try some of the spots. But yeah, a good pizza, like maybe like 1 or 2 slices, and like honestly, it's enough that like it kicks the craving rather, but then I can kind of hop right back on to like being on track and things like that, which is huge.
I feel like the word like cheat day too is a tough one, because if you're gonna really cash in on that can have an effect, especially if you're in like a competition right now. Mm-hmm. So I think a cheap meal is like a good way to subsidize that. So I think one thing to cap with here, or to kind of continue with, is maybe what we're currently doing for our own goals and our own routine.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea for, if you've just met us or if you've known us for a long time, the things we're going through right now that help us, stay motivated and apply new things that we learn to what we do with our clients. Right now, I have 3 things that I'm training for physically, and I am doing a lot of research and a lot of trial and error to get them to work together into a master program. There are phases to it, but the three things are: I still do Spartan races, and I do those with one of my longtime clients, Greg Smith. Fantastic dude, an absolute animal on the course. And so him, I, and his son, we run those races, and it's a blast. We're always looking for new people to join in. So if you're interested in the 2023 Spartan race, whether you do 1 or 2 trifectas, doesn't matter. Hit us up. We'll help you out. Beyond that, I'm looking to get into enduro mountain biking, which is like it's more of a downhill race. I traditionally have done cross country and trail, but with enduro, you have to bike up the mountain. You get a 30-second break, and then you bomb down, and you do 3 to 5 stages of that. Oh, yeah. So you're constantly going, and your heart rate's just all over the place. So that's a lot of endurance work. And then the last thing is I'm hoping to be a firefighter within the next year or so. And that means I have to do a lot more weightlifting, a lot of weighted exercise. So I use a 50-pound weight vest, and I try to do 5Ks with that. My hip's not a big fan of it right now, and so I've been taking a little bit of a step back, and I've been working on some compensations that have occurred in my hip. But I think that's something that I've learned along the way too is, the goal is important, but it's not as important as your health and your mechanics. And so, I could push for these goals, but if I'm destroying my body in the process, that's like, it's not really going to help. I'm going to end up crashing after that. I'm going to do poorly in my competitions. I would rather set them off like a while away rather than just rush into them. And so, I like to have a well-moving body, because if I feel tight, if I feel pain, I get anxious. And so I'm trying to take care of that. But beyond that, I do 3 strength days a week where I work on heavier weights, weighted calisthenic, and then I do a weighted cardio day on Tuesdays. I do an endurance HIIT workout Thursdays. Saturdays, if the weather is nice, I'll go out and do like a 10-mile hike or 10-mile bike ride, depending on what I have the time for. And then Sundays, I go rock climbing with one of my good friends, Dave. Shout out to Dave. He's been crushing it. He recently got into like the fitness world, and I love seeing him bloom with it, as I do with all my clients. So I think that's kind of just the current routines that we're doing right now. So what are you working on now?
So like right now, obviously the biggest thing in the forefront is my competition, just trying to like get in the best shape possible with that. So obviously the working out part's probably not the hardest thing. It would definitely be more so the diet, just because working a 15-hour day, the last thing you want to do is just go home and start slave driving, like prepping food and weighing stuff out in your kitchen. So, but again, it has to get done at some point in time, so I don't mind putting the time into it. So in regards for like my training, I typically do 4 days of lifting per week, and then 2 days of like active recovery, which typically entail like some type of like medium to high intensity cardio with some core work and a lot of just stretching and just some mobility. The more you can kind of keep yourself moving, recovered, and just staying fresh, the better off you're going to be kind of in between your workouts. The biggest thing that I've been also trying to do is that, so shout out to Westside Barbell and the late Louis Simmons, rest in peace. He has taught me more about lifting than I could possibly ever fathom. I wish I knew him personally. I didn't, but anywho, he basically kind of lays out a lot of different parameters as to how to get really strong efficiently without, again, trying to put your body through an absolute blender. So between those principles, so the bodybuilding thing is number one. Number two, I'm also a full-time rugby coach outside of here as well. I coach men's and women's collegiate rugby. So trying to make sure that they're doing their parts, whether it's in the gym, outside the gym, trying to get them up to speed. The more that you can kind of help build that routine and maintain it, the better off it's just going to be. And it's just going to build better and healthier habits like down the road for some of these individuals. On top of that too, I would say that the third thing is just trying to be better. Even though I know it sounds super cheesy, just like even if it's 1% better every day, you're doing something more to gain yourself progress than what you did the day prior. So kind of like you kind of had the best thing that you probably said is like by taking part in some of the same goals that we have, like as the people we surround ourselves with,
Yeah.
it's just going to be bigger and better outcomes.
I think to kind of add on to that too, one thing that we do here at Sheer Dominance, we really try to build that communal aspect within our studio. So everyone that comes in here, you know, our clients can interact with each other, and then now it just kind of feels like a big workout party. And it's funny to see, you know, some interactions with each other, but like you were just saying, where you kind of work yourself into what we're doing with our clients.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that does really help us stand out as a gym is that we have certain conglomerates within our business of clients that like to do a very specific kind of training, and then we're able to do that alongside them, which helps with the motivation, the consistency, and the camaraderie and team of it. So for example, like I do the Spartan races, and like I mentioned with my client Greg, we did our first trifecta last year, and by the end of the beast, it was a slog, but we got through it, and I'm proud of how they did, and you know, I felt good with it. So I think the more people we're able to take part in the goals with, that just helps exponentially build progress. And you know, the more we're able to take part in that goal, the more it feels like it's shared. I feel like I don't know.
Like, yeah, no, not like, so not to like make it like sound like weird, but it's like almost like, it's like when you're a kid and like you watch like your parents or like your friends, or like more so, yeah, I would say more like your parents. Like when you watch your parents do stuff, like when you're a kid, it's like your parents like know best, so like you kind of want to like follow suit and like do the same thing as your parents. It's kind of like almost like the same in the sense of like training almost. It's like when you set that example and you kind of lead by it, people are going to be drawn to that, whether it's like how you pace yourself during a Spartan race or how hard you can hit someone in rugby. People are going to like, they want something to kind of work towards. It doesn't have to even necessarily be a goal. It can just be in the sense of like, oh, like I want to be able to like do that, or I want to be able to say that I did this, or I want to be able to do this because so-and-so can do it. If even just by saying I want to do something because someone else can do it, it's a cool thing. Again, it sets that motivation to kind of keep you going to work towards something. So I guess, yeah, I take that back. It will become a goal.
I think a good way you put it is lead by example.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know, I think the more we are able to commit ourselves into our clients' goals, not saying that we're like inserting ourselves into the goal, but the more we can help them feel like it's a shared effort, I think really builds it. But at this point, I feel like it's good to kind of wrap up with, you know, our speech. But
hell yeah, no, yeah. It was awesome. I would say that like so yeah, kind of like to summarize it, the biggest things that like, so obviously we talked about our fitness journeys, our current routines, our future goals, and then as well as that, for the people viewing, again, if you guys like this, please feel free to reach out. You can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. I almost said MySpace, Jesus Christ. But yeah, feel free to hit us up. We're more than happy to give back any information that could possibly help you, whether it's about training life, whatever the case may be. Like I said at the beginning, the starting process is always the hardest thing.
Yep.
Once you start the process, you just got to maintain it, and then making sure that you kind of do things to adapt along the way. But yeah, no, thanks for tuning in with Connor and myself.
And if you have any ideas on what we should talk about next, feel free to drop them in the comment, and we'll have a good time with it. Okay?
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.